Wonderful. So we are now recording the webinar for Easy Expense and Income Tracking. My name is Vicki Hagberg. I am a business consultant with the Small Business Development Center here in Northeastern Minnesota. And with me on this training is Kurt. Would you like to introduce yourself, Kurt?
Hi, I'm Kurt Walczak. I'm also a business consultant with the Northland Small Business Development Center, and I am in Duluth, Minnesota.
Great. So we're really excited to bring you this training today. This is a new tool that we've developed after working with businesses one-on-one, who many of them needed exactly the same thing, an easy way where they could get their income and expenses organized. And so we developed this tool in response to that. And we're going to go through today a little bit about what it can and can't do. You know, what are the capabilities of this tool? And then a little bit on exactly how to use it step by step. So we're actually going to start with a poll.
Let me throw that poll up here. So I'm launching the poll. And it's asking, how long have you been in business? And if you could spend just a little bit of time answering that, we will take a poll of our 29 attendees here and see where everybody's at.
Yeah, we know even the several businesses that I've worked with in developing this tool in the last few months really spanned to people who were starting up their business and were looking to develop a tool to track their income and their expenses right from the start. And then I've worked with businesses that have been around for quite a while, and they're either looking for a fresh start or a little bit more sophisticated tool maybe than what they're using already.
So it looks like everybody's chimed in here. I'm going to end that poll and we can talk about the results. So it looks like 8% of you are just thinking about starting, 19% less than 1 year, 23% 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, 15%, and 35% of you have been in business for more than 5 years.
Yeah, I don't find that surprising at all. We work with businesses of all sorts and people that haven't started yet and people that have been around for decades. So that's great to see. So we'll talk briefly a little bit about Northland Small Business Development Center and what we do. We provide no cost, totally confidential consulting, or what we call technical assistance for small businesses. And so that sometimes is what we're talking about today, understanding your finances, helping you get organized, and understanding your month-to-month bills that are coming in, what your cash flow is going to be throughout the year. But it is also in marketing, in evaluating finance options. Maybe you're looking at buying or selling your business. We have experts in bookkeeping, HR, marketing, as I mentioned before. And so to access any of our services, go to our website at northlandsmallbusinessdevelopmentcenter.org and request for services if you aren't already a client, and then you can work with us one-on-one. Something I'd like to mention is at the end of this training today, there's an evaluation survey that will open in your browser following the training event. So it'll open up in Chrome or Microsoft Edge or whichever browser you're using. So watch for that, and we really appreciate you filling that out. All right. So we're going to talk about what this tool doesn't do, right? It's got its limitations. It really is powerful in a lot of ways, but it's limited in others. So this is not a replacement for working with a qualified tax professional. Working with a CPA or an accountant to do your annual tax return is important, so you understand what expenses can be deducted, how to calculate items like the cost of goods, depreciation, other items that are needed for Schedule C business tax return. We aren't CPAs, we're not accountants. We can bring a lot of great resources and advice for you as a business owner, but we definitely recommend that you work closely with the tax professional when you are submitting your business taxes. This is also not a system that's going to track your inventory for you. So if you are the type of business that is in retail, or if you're a manufacturer that needs to track inventory, you're going to want to use a point of sale system or some other inventory tracking tool to work through that. So again, it doesn't give tax advice within here. It's not great for tracking inventory. It's also what we call a single entry cash basis accounting system. So that means you enter in your income and expenses as you receive or incur them. Cash in, cash out, that's when it's recorded. So what this tool can't help you do is track invoices or accounts receivable, payments that you're hoping to bring into your business for work that you've already done for a customer. You're really going to want to look at QuickBooks or another double entry or accrual basis accounting system if you're looking to track those accounts receivable, invoices, types of things. This also doesn't reconcile your accounts, which basically is the same as balancing your checkbook, making sure all of that your expenses are accounted for. And again, a powerful tool like QuickBooks has its pros and cons. And one of those pros is it'll connect directly to most of your bank accounts, and you'll be able to see all of those transactions one-on-one. This tool is much simpler to use, but it doesn't have some of these features that you might see in QuickBooks or another more full-featured accounting kind of software. If that is
question.
Sure.
And that question is, how many of you have filed your taxes yet? And I'm going to launch another poll here. And how do I get to the other question? Yes, hold on, there we go. And
Great.
let me launch this polling. And then we'll get to the spreadsheet here pretty quickly, but how many of you have filed your taxes for 2020 yet? I know even personally, I have not.
Yeah, Kurt and I were just talking about that. I haven't yet either, but it's on my mind for sure.
And I'm even expecting a refund, so I don't know what's holding me up, but
time, right? We're all really busy.
Time, yeah.
And I was working with a business the other day. They filed in January. They had everything ready to go. It's something that they like to cross it off their list at the beginning of the year and not have to worry about it. Yeah. Most businesses I work with aren't quite that on top of it.
Joyce in chat said that she has them at her accountant, so that's good. Looks like everybody chimed in here. I'm going to end polling and I'm going to share the results. So 15% already filed. Good for you. 62% haven't filled them yet, but will before April 15th. 12% plan on filing an extension. 8% not sure when I'm going to file my taxes. And 4% is I don't need to file taxes. So, well, that's interesting.
Yeah, maybe they haven't started their business yet, or they just started at the beginning of this year. So I could definitely see where that would come from.
And so I'm going to stop sharing this and I'm going to let Vicki get back to our presentation.
Yeah, so now we're going to talk about what this does do, which is what we're all here today to understand. I mentioned this is a simple tool. It's no cost to use, and we can customize it to fit your business's needs. We created this to help you get organized, whether that is a New Year resolution, if you're trying to get your finances in order ahead of submitting your 2020 tax return, or if it's just a year-round thing that you're looking for a good tool to use. That's why we've created this. It's going to help you get organized. It's also going to help you understand your cash flow for your business throughout the year. So by using this tool over time, you'll begin to understand, what are your stronger sales months, and when are your sales lower? Do you have a specific month each year when you really need to watch your bank account because your cash flow is really tight? You can start to use it to answer questions like, are you going to have enough cash to purchase extra inventory for a holiday sales rush? It can really help you understand the bigger picture of your business's finances. And I think several people are in here today because it can help you categorize your expenses, so they're easier to enter into a Schedule C tax form. So again, this doesn't replace working with a tax professional. It can help you save time and money by getting you organized before you file your business taxes. All right, and this is how you get to it. So here's some screenshots, and the first thing you'll do to get this tool is you're going to go to our website, Northland Small Business Development Center, northlandsbdc.org. And Kurt has already pasted that into the chat earlier today, so take a look in the chat feature of Zoom for a direct link. And you're going to click on the Business Resources menu, and then there's a Downloads and Tools submenu. And so that's what you're going to click on, is that Download and Tools. Scroll down, and under the Financials area, there is a tool called Expense and Income Tracking. And that's the specific tool that we are going to go over today. You can see there is an Excel and a Google Sheet link. So you can use either Excel or Google Sheets to manage and to use this tool. And we're going to go through a couple of the quirks about Google Sheets in case that's your preferred method. If you open this in Google Sheets instead of using Excel, sorry about that, you're going to see in the upper left-hand corner of your screen something that says View Only. So that's a blue, the green colored button that has the big star around it. So when we set this up, it's a template that you have to copy and copy to your own Google Drive so that you can edit your version. We don't want you to accidentally edit your private business finance information into something that other people can see on the internet. So our template is view only. So what you're going to want to do if you're using Google Sheets again, this is not the case for Excel, is you're going to go to File and then Make a Copy. You'll save that on your own Google Drive so that you can edit it and have access to it and save it once you've entered in information. There are a couple other quirks that I want to point out. And, when we built this tool, we built it smart, I guess. There's drop-down menus, there's reports that automatically populate based on the information you're entering. And because we built it that way, if you change certain formulas, you could actually break parts of the tool and not know it. So we've protected those areas of these sheets, both in Excel and in Google Sheets. So if you see an error like one of these pop up as you're working on the document, take note, you may be trying to edit an area that we've protected because we don't want you to accidentally break the tool. If you're comfortable with spreadsheet programming, feel free to unlock it and edit those references, whatever you want to do. If you want to make changes to this spreadsheet, again, we can help you customize this for your business. And as we get into the tool a little bit more, we'll talk about some specific ways that we can do that. But if you see these, it's the tool trying to stop you from accidentally invalidating a report or a formula that we have built in. Okay, and so we're going to do the interactive demo, and I am going to stop sharing my screen. And then I'm going to do a new share of Excel. Again, you can use Google Sheets if that, they work really similarly. Excel was just a little easier for me today for this training. All right, so Kurt, can you confirm, can you see the spreadsheet on my computer?
I can see the spreadsheet. It looks great.
Great, thank you. So we're going to go through tab by tab, step by step, how to use this spreadsheet. And the first thing that we have open, you can see down here at the bottom of the screen, there's a few different tabs. And so if you're not very familiar with Excel, each one of these is its own worksheet that make up the workbook. So we're going to go through them left to right. That's how they're organized. And the first one is a instruction sheet. And so if you're referencing this later, if you don't have time to get to this for another couple of weeks, you can look at this first sheet and it tells you, step by step, step one, and important notes about that we're going to cover today in the training. This is a good reference for you on how to use this spreadsheet overall. There's nothing you need to enter on the instructions tab. It's just something to read if you're looking for a reference. The one thing I do want to point out here, and it's kind of in bold right on this first page. So this spreadsheet, this tool is designed to organize 1 calendar year of business expenses and income. If you enter in expenses from more than 1 year, reports are not going to be accurate. Okay? We're building them to look at 1 year at a time. So if you're using this to prepare for your 2020 tax returns, you're going to look at your income and expenses from January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020. Then you're going to make a copy of this for 2021 and moving forward each year.
And if you forget to make a copy, and if you already filled some of it out, you can always go back to the website and download the template again too.
Yeah. And again, if you need a little help in using this, we're happy to help you. All you need to do is request services from Northland Small Business Development Center, and we'll work with you one-on-one as a refresher on this as well. And we have that reminder everywhere. Only use this to track expenses for 1 calendar year. So I've gone to the expenses tab. And so this is the second tab of the spreadsheet. And like I said, we're going to go through this step by step. I've entered in a bunch of expenses already because I want to show you how the reports are going to come out. But we are going to enter in a few as an example as well. So I'm going to scroll down here. You don't have to enter these in order. It can be by any date. So even though I have some expenses entered in through the end of 2021, for this example, I can do whatever I want. So say today, we're going to enter in the date 3/3/21. So March 3rd, 2021. And you're going to want to enter in these expenses one by one. You're not going to want to lump them together. They're really supposed to be by category type that they are. So if you went to Walmart and you bought supplies and you bought, I'm having a hard time. So say you bought some parts to make whatever your product is as well, some inventory. You're going to want to probably break those up into 2 different expenses. But we're going to say today we got a bill for $128. So I typed that dollar amount in the amount tab. Then we're going to pick an expense category. So this is a drop-down menu, and this is important. It will give you an error if you try to type in an expense category that is not in this list. So, so say I want their ads. So I type in ads. It's going to give me an error saying, don't do that. Instead, what I have to do is pick advertising. Okay. So enter in the date, enter in the amount, enter in the category from the drop-down menu. That's the bare minimum of really what you need to do. But we're going to add in, this was for Facebook ad. So the merchant is Facebook, and it was an ad campaign for St. Patrick's Day. And these are organizational tools for you and your CPA or your tax person to understand the context of how you spent that money, what the business expense was for. As I scroll to the right, there's one more column here. And we have this, this is a request of some of the businesses that I worked with, that sometimes they might use a personal account instead of their business bank account like they should be. And it is best practice to always use your business bank account for business expenses and your personal account for personal expenses, and don't mix those. Sometimes that might not happen. So default is going to come up that you've used your business bank account for this. If you used your personal account or cash or something like that, you can change it to a personal expense. Again, it's just one more tool to help you track which bank account maybe this has come out of.
Vicki, we have a question that says, what if my category isn't there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have a pretty exhaustive list of categories, but if what you're seeing isn't in this list, we can work with you one-on-one to add it. I do recommend that you work with us to do that. And again, it's really easy. You can just send an email to your SBDC consultant or to me and set up a time to understand what kind of categories are missing and what you'd like to see. We'll add it into this programmed list for you, as well as the reports. So it's definitely customizable. We can add or remove these, and this is maybe a good time to talk about, there's like 40 different categories in this list right now. If you have a micro business, a really small business, you might only have 4 expenses that you have every month. We can also simplify this and remove, if you are never going to pay someone to do cleaning for you at your place of business, we can remove that so you don't have to see it in the drop-down list as well. So hopefully that answered your question of what if that expense category isn't there. For the reports to work though, you need to choose expense out of the drop-down list. And like I said, it's very simple for us to go in and add that for you. It's no trouble at all. Please ask, and we're happy to do that. And let's say I was looking back, and on the first of the month, so 3/1/21, I had, we're doing a big spring advertising campaign. So I had another $47.50. And again, that was advertising. And instead of for Facebook, that was in the regional paper, the Hometown Focus. That's a paper ad for a spring sale. So we're going to enter in a few more this month. So say 3/15/21, and you had another $65, and that was advertising. Again, social media, and that was a Facebook, Instagram ad for spring sales. So we had this big month where we spent a lot in advertising, and that's how easy it is to enter expenses in this tool. It is 1 by 1. It is manual entry. But if this is something that you open up every day or every week, I think it's pretty easy to keep on top of, and it can go pretty fast. You sit down and enter those. Something to keep in mind, you do still want to keep your receipts either in a paper file or scan them or something like that, in case you get audited, to have that backup. You're going to want to have those receipts. So I think that's everything on the expenses tab. If you have questions, keep them coming in the chat or the question and answer feature. All right, we're going to go to the income tab. So again, left to right on the bottom is how we're going across. And this is really similar to the expense tab. It's going to be even simpler to enter income in this tool. So again, I have a bunch of these entered already. So I'm scrolling down to the bottom, and we're going to add a couple more together. So let's say today, 3/3/21, we are making a sale. And so you'll see these columns say sale total before tax and sales tax if applicable. This tool, again, is kind of limited. If you are an online retailer for taxable items and you are collecting sales tax in 8 states and a whole bunch of different counties, and you need to track all of that, this is probably not a sophisticated enough tool for you to do that. However, if you're a brick and mortar operation in Minnesota and you are have your sales total before tax, sales tax, we have these broken up on here specifically because they go on 2 different line items in your Schedule C form. So that's why we have them separate, because when you do your taxes, your gross receipts would include sales tax, and then you basically deduct your sales tax as a business expense that have been once you
we have another question in the chat, and the question is, can data be imported to the tool? I have many purchases from eBay, for example, and can get a CSV file of all the details.
Yeah, this is another area where we've worked with businesses to customize this tool. We know that not every business uses the same point of sale system, or, you know, like you mentioned, those eBay purchases where you can get basically an itemized list of everything that you've made. But what we can do is work with you one-on-one to adapt this tool based on those reports, those Excel CSV files, Excel sheets that you can export from those merchants. So what we would do is we would set up an appointment with you one-on-one. You can show us the kind of data that you are getting from that system, and we're going to make it so that you can super easy copy and paste that data in here and not have to do a bunch of manual entry if you have a lot of transactions. And we can make notes in here too, so that you remember. So we might say, you know, sales data total before tax, we would do a little note that we can attach to this spot that says, paste this in from column F of the eBay report. So again, it's not built in because we can't customize it for everyone all at one time, but we can work with you one-on-one to customize it. Okay, so again, we entered in the date, and we're going to enter in the sale total before tax. And so we're going to say this person, this income, this sale that we made, we'll say it's $58.50. And this sale was actually not taxable. It was clothing or something that wasn't taxable. If you want, you can say customer you sold it to. So this might be valuable for consulting type businesses or service type businesses where you're working with a few select people and you want to be able to track who your customers are. And you can add in some notes again, if that's something that you're interested in. These are optional, and they're really just there to help you keep organized to the level that you want to. And Joe Andrews bought some sweatshirts. And then later on this week, I make a sale for $116.78. And this time, you know, I had calculated on my, you know, manually that there's $8.66 of tax. And that was for Jeannie, and that was some supplies she bought. Okay, so this income tracking, it's really that simple. You have to do the date, you have to do the sale total before tax, and you have to do the sales tax separately if you're charging and collecting sales tax. All right. Any more questions, Kurt, that have come in on?
Yeah, we just got another question in the chat. If I'm a 1099 employee, would I enter those checks here?
Yes, is the short of it. So the income that you're receiving from whatever source, generally speaking, will go in this income tab. And so you can have your customer be whoever you are working for on that job. You can put in some notes if you want as well. So whatever your business type is, this is really probably best for either a sole proprietor who might be or LLC, single member LLC. Generally, that level are going to be the people using this tool. So, yep, any income goes in the income tab. Any expenses you're paying out goes on the expenses tab. Checking my notes to see if I missed anything, but I think that's it. It really is that simple.
Vicki, the next question is sales tax for city, county, state divided later? And I don't believe we're dividing up that sales tax.
Right. This tool isn't inherently built up to track different counties, different cities, different states for sales tax. Generally, if you're doing that and have multiple locations to track, it's going to be hard to do that with this tool. That being said, if you're like a brick and mortar location in Duluth and you're looking to create a tab in here that you can have this open at your business and you want to enter in your sales total before the tax, and then you want columns to come up saying, what's my county sales tax, what's my state sales tax, and what's my local sales tax. If it's that straightforward where you're in one location and those taxes are always the same, we could probably build that into this for you. So hopefully that helps you explain. This isn't built to really track your sales tax in and out and how much goes to what county or locality. But we can help you a little bit with if your case is simple enough. But a good point of sale system is going to track sales tax for you much more in depth. And it's definitely something to look into for a retail business, I would say.
Now,
that has to collect
if you're
sales
selling
tax
online and you're doing sales across multiple states and different areas, I would think that your e-commerce shopping cart would track that information for you, and you can get that out of there.
Mm-hmm. I see a couple of questions and answers questions came in through the Q&A function. Maybe I'll hit those, Kurt, and then if there's others in the chat, we can get to those.
Sure.
The first one is that this person's cash comes to their account through their website. There's a delay from the day of sale to when it hits the bank. And then there's also a fee withheld from the website provider. So in this situation, I think there's a couple ways you can enter it. You could do it manually. If you have a cash basis accounting system, you would record that income when it hits your bank account, when you actually receive it, even if that's a couple days later than when the actual sale was made. So basically, you're going to want this to match your bank register. That being said, it's going to depend on what credit card merchant you use. So like Square is going to take that fee out. And so say you have $100 in sales, they're going to take that $350 out or whatever and deposit the rest of it into your bank account directly. Those credit card merchant fees are a qualified business expense, generally speaking. So you are going to want to capture those. And that's something that we could look at potentially using an export from Square or Spotify or whatever your online merchant is. So you can paste in those sales and we can hopefully capture that income and expense fairly easily for you. So hopefully that answered your question, Gary.
And our next question in Q&A is, hi, I have a C Corp, sorry. I have a C Corp, so the annual tax reporting is not based on a calendar year. Should I use two separate spreadsheets for 2 calendar years and combine them when filing my annual tax?
Sure, and this may become more clear for you when we look at the reports, which is what we're going to look at next. The reason why this is for 1 calendar year is because the report that we're going to look at next does January, February, March, April, May, June, July, all the months of the year individually. So you can see from month to month how your income and expenses are changing. If your fiscal year doesn't match the calendar year, we could potentially look at a couple of things. We could look at either modifying that report so it matches your fiscal year, or you could have one copy of each. So you would have Q2 and Q3 in one spreadsheet, or sorry, Q3 and Q4 in one spreadsheet, and Q1 and Q2 in another spreadsheet. And then when you're filing your taxes at the end, you'd have a little addition to do of those categories, but either of those could be options.
Right. I'd also maybe have a question about the use of a C Corp too, but that's for another day.
Yeah. So we're going to go into the reporting a little bit. And so this is one of those tools that's been built into here that's smart. You essentially, the only thing you can edit on this sheet is your business name. This is my super cool business. You can enter in actually your cash at the beginning of the year. So I know that on January 1st, I had $875 in my bank account. This will actually, in theory, if you've matched all of your income and all of your expenses and you're always using the same bank account, it should match your bank statement per month for what you have at the beginning and end of each month for cash in your account. You don't have to use that tool. You can take that out and say, I don't care if it matches my account exactly. I just want to know what's coming in and coming out. So we'll do that for this example. This is what's called a profit and loss report or an income statement. And what it is a month by month look at your income and then your expenses for your business. One of the things I'm going to do just to make this easier is I'm going to hide some of these columns. So you can see there's a lot of different categories in here. And this business example doesn't use all of them. So I'm going to hide some of these just so it's easier for us to see on the training today. Don't have any payroll. Questionable, but I don't have any insurance. So I'm hiding these. And this is something you can do yourself, or we can help you with if you're not very comfortable with Excel. We can have it so it only shows those categories that are most applicable to your business. So this is pretty clean now. You can kind of see it all on one page pretty much. So I mentioned before, I had a whole bunch of entries that I put in beforehand, right? So this is what I would be looking at the end of the year. And I have, it automatically totals all of the sales before tax I had, and then all the sales tax, right? So these are items that you have received payment for. Then we have our expenses. And so you can see from month to month, so say advertising, I had all those expenses in March for advertising that I had entered in earlier in our training. So you can see this number is quite a bit higher than other months. I also have a little bit of accounting expense every month. Pay my niece to enter everything into the spreadsheet for me because I don't like to. At the end of the year, I made a donation because I felt like I had some extra cash on hand. I have an internet bill every month. It's not a constant amount. Sometimes it's $20, sometimes it's $60. Every few months I have this outside services. I have like a security or like a pest control business come in for my business. So this is the summary from month to month of what's going on in your business. This is something that your consultant at Northland SBDC will be very happy to walk you through understanding what this means for your business. There's a couple of reasons why this is really useful. One, you can see if there's missed expenses that you haven't entered in. For example, utilities. I know for this business, there is supposed to be a utility bill paid every single month. I only have it entered every few months. And so that means that I'm missing expenses and I have to go back, see what I'm missing and enter those in. So it can be useful to see if you are missing expenses that you know should be there and haven't entered those. You can also see how this varies from month to month. So your income and your expenses. At the bottom of this sheet, again, should tell you essentially how much cash you would have in your account. And so what we're seeing here is at the end of the year, I'm losing money on this business, and I am behind. And so I started out the year kind of strong the first couple of months, okay, through the middle of the year, and then I started losing money. So this can help you understand the seasonality of your business and see, as you use this year after year too, you can see if there's patterns that can help you understand your business. The third way you really use this report is to forecast the future. So say you're a retail business and you really want to move to a bigger space in the downtown area. You can use this tool with your small business consultant to take a look at, well, what would that impact be to my monthly budget if I was spending an extra $400 a month in rent? How much more would I have to do in sales to cover that? Is it worth it? And so you can use this to help make some of those business decisions that have a financial impact on your bottom line. Kurt, do you have anything to add about, again, this is all automatically pulled. If you enter in the expense, if you enter in the income, it shows up on the sheet.
I really like the fact that if you're going to put it in the expense categories in the other tab, and the income in the other tab, and then it just automatically shows up in this sheet. You don't have to hit import. You don't have to wait for something or save it. It just automatically shows up in this other sheet here. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
One of the other things is we put inventory, cost of goods sold, and owner pay in a couple of lines below subtotal. And that's there simply because those are some of the things that we like to see separately and maybe track, and they stand out a little bit more. I mean, they could be up above the subtotal line, but we put them there just so they're easier to track and look. Like Vicki said, you can use it as a forecasting tool as well. So if you put something in owner pay, you can see, how much money you might have or might not have, as we see some negative numbers on there as well. And so this is really strictly a cash type template and using the cash method of accounting. If you have accounts receivable, it does not track that, or if you have accounts payable. So what happens is when you have an income, it's income, and it's assumed that you receive the income. When you have a bill, you pay a bill, and it's assumed it's paid when you put it in here. So strictly cash accounting.
Yep. If you're looking at doing accrual basis, which, I think Kurt alluded to and I have earlier, would allow you to track that accounts receivable and accounts payable, you're probably going to be looking at going to something like QuickBooks that is going to allow you to do that through a double entry method of accounting. Not everyone needs to do that. There's lots of business types where payment is immediate or near immediate, and you're not providing services and getting paid for them later.
And we have other downloadable templates on our website for projections that it would include accrual type accounting as well.
Yeah, we can help you with that. It's not really built in this sheet. This sheet's meant to be about as easy to use as possible, but it has some limitations because of that. All right, the last thing we're going to go through, again, left to right on the bottom, is the Schedule C report. And this is something that we've developed new. Again, big bold text at the beginning. We do recommend you work with a tax professional to do your business taxes. They're going to be able to provide really qualified advice for you, answer your questions, and help get the most out of your business deductions.
So there is another question in the Q&A here, and if you don't mind, Vicki, I think I'll take this one. any recommendations other than QuickBooks for cash accounting? So there are other accounting softwares out there outside of QuickBooks. And for me, as a person who's been using or know QuickBooks, at least desktop, for many, many years, there's QuickBooks Online. There is also Wave Accounting is another, actually that is a free accounting software that is out there that you can use. If you want to do payroll, you have to pay for it. And like most things, if there's a free version, there's also the premium, so you have to pay more. Oh, I want this. Well, then you have to pay more. But that is actually free, and that is out there if you want to look into that and use it. There's a pay for service called FreshBooks, which is out there, which works pretty well. There's always, you know, if you get into other things, you get into NetSuite and things like that. But our purposes here today were really just to give you something simple to use for your straight cash flow accounting.
Yep. That's great. Thanks, Kurt. Okay, so if you have a Schedule C form for your 1040 printed out in front of you, it's going to look really familiar. We built this to be line item to line item, nearly identical in a lot of spaces. That being said, some of these things are going to automatically calculate based on the income and the expenses that you put in earlier. So this assumes that you have entered in all of your income, all of your expenses, and that you categorized your expenses correctly, okay? So blue items are automatically calculating based on your previous entries. Green cells are going to require manual entry. This is not smart enough to do all of your taxes with absolutely no input from you or a tax professional. And we don't want it to be. You know, this is something that you really should be looking at closely. You know, your business taxes have big implications for you as a business owner. So it's going to automatically calculate your gross receipts and sales based on your income. If you had any returns and allowances, it's not going to calculate your cost of goods sold. There's a couple of ways to go about this, and it's not something I'm going to cover in great detail today. There are instructions in Schedule C about how you can calculate those cost of goods and how you should do that. You would have a manual entry for your cost of goods sold. Okay. It'll calculate automatically your gross profit, but you have to enter in other income. So if you have income that is not included in here and it's not part of gross receipts or sales, that's something that you're going to want to manually enter, and make sure it's not being double counted, both gross receipts and other income.
So we have another question in the Q&A, and it might be a good time to answer this. Would contributions from personal to business accounts be recorded as an income line?
I would say, and Kurt, you can weigh in on this, I would say yes. Well,
again, we're gonna get back to that question about cash or accrual accounting, basically. If it's accrual accounting, no. If it's cash accounting, if cash is coming into the business, I guess it's going to be recorded as income.
Right.
And that is the non-qualified CPA answer, right? So I can't, that's really getting into more of some of that tax CPA type question, and I'm not qualified to answer that, but I'll just say the best I can that I think that would go into income if you're using cash-based accounting.
Yeah, and what I can answer with certainty is if you enter it in the income tab, it's going to come up in gross receipts or sales. Okay, if you don't want it there, but you want to record it as other income, you should put it in the other income piece. So anything on the income tab goes to gross receipts and sales.
Yeah, I would definitely have that in other income because it's not part of the normal operation of the business.
Yeah. Okay, going to part 2, expenses. So again, anything in blue has been automatically pulled based on your earlier entries in the spreadsheet. So these are the categories that are on a Schedule C form. Advertising, car and truck expenses, commissions and fees, contract labor, et cetera, et cetera. And you know, from a transparency standpoint, I have on here exactly which line items this is pulling from that profit and loss report, so that when you're working with the tax professional and like, well, how did they calculate car and truck expenses? It's everything on line 26 that's been categorized as a gas and vehicle expense. And that goes for the same as everything on here. You know, it's transparent. That's what all of these notes here are on the right for. It's to tell you what categories have gone into that. We don't want this to be like a black box that you don't know where numbers came from. It is all based on how you put that category in earlier. And so that's why we need to work with you if you want to add categories to this to make sure that they are going both in the profit and loss report and into the Schedule C report. If you just add them yourselves, they might not get counted. There's some things here in green. So depletion is it's not common at all. Some timber and mineral industries are going to use depletion. Depreciation, something that you should work with your tax professional to develop that depreciation schedule. And then you can manually enter this in and put it in on your Schedule C form when you're filling that out. Interest. So this is assuming that any loan payment is both principal and interest. So you're going to need to manually calculate out or use a statement from your loan provider on what that interest was that you paid. So all the way through this line 41, these are all items that are on the Schedule C as standard expense categories. We know that there's some others that are common with the small businesses that we work with. And so on your Schedule C, there's an other expense category where you can list out other expense types that you have and sum them up for the Schedule C. And so these are some of those common ones that we've seen businesses have. So those are all.
We have another question in the chat.
Sure.
It is, if I use my vehicle for business and my car payments are made from the business account, can I add payments to expenses?
So whether or not those are qualified business expenses are something that you should discuss with your tax professional. If you should be including that on your Schedule C as a business expense. If you enter it in on the spreadsheet as a gas and vehicle expense, that's the category I would use. It's going to come here for car and truck expenses. If you're renting or leasing the vehicle, you would put it under equipment rent lease. So this is where working with the tax professional is really important to understand where these types of expenses should go and really double checking that the IRS is going to consider them a qualified business expense.
And then it's the next follow-up to that is, what about depreciation? And again, that's something that we'd have your accountant do for you at the end of the year. This is a great tool to be prepared to go to the accountant, and then they're going to take this and maybe change it based on your particular situation.
Yeah. This is help you get everything together, have that conversation with a tax professional, and really minimize the amount of time that they have to spend on your tax return, which will hopefully save both time for you and for them and money, right? Because you're going to be paying them for the amount of time that they're spending preparing your taxes. So by having this all organized, that's our hope, is that this will save you time and money. Okay, so again, just scrolling to the bottom, these are some more things on here. Again, if you have expenses for the business use of home, you're going to want to work with a tax professional or really study that IRS worksheet to understand what those expenses are. Right, I'm going to stop sharing and share back that was it. That was everything. I wasn't kidding when I said it was pretty easy to use. We're going to go back to our slideshow. So Kurt, can you see how we can customize this tool for your small business?
Yes, I can.
I think we had another poll skipped, but I know we're really coming up on 2 o'clock. So I think we're going to skip that.
Okay.
We've gone over all of this, I think, in the training already. We can help add or remove expense categories. We can work with you with your merchant or point of sale to get that so it's really easy to import. We can simplify those reports for you. We are really happy to work with you to make this meet your needs. And so to do that, again, you're going to go to our website, northlandsbdc.org, sign up for services if you're not already a client. And if you are already a client, talk to your consultant about customizing the tool or ask to be put in touch with me, with Vicki, and I'm happy to work with you one-on-one to get this tailored to your needs. And, as a reminder, I wanted to make sure, we'll take any last questions that folks might have. When you leave the training today, there'll be a survey that pops up in your browser. We really, really appreciate if you took a couple of minutes to fill that out. So that was quick at the end, but I wanted to pause and see if there's any other questions or comments that folks have on use of this spreadsheet.
Could you talk about inventory, cost of goods sold? Does the numbers come from some other place? So we do have a row at the bottom underneath the subtotal to put in your inventory purchases on the cash flow sheet. So that's where you would put that. Mm-hmm. Basically, you're going to put your purchases in there for the items that you purchase for resale.
Yeah, when you are entering in your cost of goods sold for your taxes, it's likely that that number doesn't exactly match your purchases in that year for what you bought for inventory. Those are not the same thing from a tax perspective. So this software, like I said, it'll total up what you spent on inventory and categorized as an inventory or cost of goods expense. It'll total that up for you. But when you fill out your Schedule C form, that formula for what your actual cost of goods is different. It depends on your inventory before and after the beginning and end of the year.
There's a page 2 on Schedule C for calculating your inventory, and that's the sheet that you would use to do that.
Mm-hmm. So it gives you the information you need to do the calculation, but it's not going to do that calculation for you. It's something that we really want to make sure you understand and are comfortable with that calculation. Yeah.
Good question.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, we'll wait and see if there's any more questions that come in. But again, feel free to email me. My email is Vicki, V-I-C-K-I, at northlandsbdc.org. If you'd like to set up a time to customize this for you. And we really hope that you find this valuable. I think we might be offering this training again in the fall. And like I said, this has been recorded. And so we'll be sending out a link to this and a copy of the slides. Again, a lot of it was interactive. There's that instruction page in the template itself to help guide you as well. I'm going to stop recording for our training today.